we should definitely not be too naive when we put something on the market. When we see the damage that smartphones can have on people psychology, I think there's a lot to do, and it's not just about the hardware and technology here. I'm talking more deeply about what is the use of these products, and how can maybe the phone create a shift or to help this
Yeah.
paradigm.
Welcome to Why Design. I'm Chris Whyte, and this podcast is about the people behind products shaping our world. Every week I sit down with design and engineering leaders who've turned ideas into real-world impact. We break down how they lead, how they learn from failure, and how they build teams that keep moving forward. Because great design isn't just about what looks good, it's about people, culture, and progress. If you care about building better products, leading stronger teams, or rediscovering the purpose behind your work, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
So, Joachim, welcome to Why Design. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for the invitation.
You're very, very welcome. So, look, we've been speaking for a little while now, and in the time that I've got to know you, obviously, you've built up this incredible and very interesting career spanning Brussels, Copenhagen, and London. And then over the last 5 or 6 years or so, co-founding FutureWave, a design and engineering agency, which is now 25 strong, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
The business works on anything from electric bikes and cars to furniture, lighting, and award-winning IoT devices. In terms of awards, you've picked up IF Awards, is it Radio Star, Bolia, and the CS Innovation, amongst many others, I presume. You were educated, or you studied a master's at the RCA, and did your bachelor's at, is it Le Cambre?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, Lacombe,
in Brussels.
in Belgium, in Brussels, exactly.
Awesome. So hopefully that short intro's done you justice. Feel free to correct me if I've got any of those details wrong, but that gives listeners a sense of what we're getting into.
Sort of right. Yeah. We focused a little bit more on tech products, so consumer electronics, healthcare, transportation, mobility. I would say that lighting, furniture is a bit aside, is a bit more something I was doing before as a designer. But yeah, FutureWave is more focusing on tech hardware projects. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, we've blended you and the business together, which is often the case. But founding a business, isn't it? Kind of where the business ends and you start, or vice versa. There's a bit of a blurred line there. But thank you for clearing that up. So we're going to dive in now. Before we get into the topics that we discussed, we'd cover. I always ask my guests this. It's the name of the podcast. Why design? What drew you into industrial design all those years ago?
Yeah, good question. Interesting. It's always interesting to have a little bit of a perspective on yourself. I think probably I grew up in a family where art architecture was predominant. So I was I guess it spoke to me quite directly to create things to draw most of the time back then, but on the other side I think I had also like a bit more of this kind of more scientific approach, or I loved science, and it is something I was doing when I was quite young. At a young age, I was inventing things, doing small inventions of trains or whatever, boats, whatever, and I drew them, and I used my skills as a drawer to do that, and to I was not aware of the word of design at that time. I guess when you're 12, but so my dad sort of told me there was probably a path I should take there. So I started then industrial design, and at Lacombe in Brussels, and this is where I started. And I think that since I had quite an interest for things that were so different. On one side, like really inventing this engineering aspect of what could help future generation. What kind of what should we invent? What I was kind of, there was always a purpose, and I felt like there was a purpose in there for me. And on the other side, like I think art was a way of expressing myself, and both together led me to a philosophy in design where I really try to ally these two worlds, poetry and industry, engineering and design, creativity and science. Like these are things that are very sensitive to
Polar
me. I mean,
opposites.
that I
Yeah.
really like, that I like
Hmm.
to dive into. Yeah, this is.
Okay. Oh, and what's the industrial design scene like in Brussels or Belgium as a whole?
What is like? I would say, yeah, there are quite good schools. I would say it's a small country for sure.
Mm,
I think that the hardware yeah, segment of sector is not super developed. There are other bigger businesses in Belgium, obviously, and
hmm
I would say that industrial design as itself doesn't have the same reputation that you would have in UK, that you
hmm
would have in Scandinavian countries, in Germany. But I think I mean, obviously there's a lot of collectible design. There's a lot of
hmm
other form of design practice that are quite renowned in Belgium. So, but industrial design as itself, I think, is um, has has a lot of potential, has a lot of talents, but because of a small country and the ecosystem having fewer larger companies in hardware products, it is maybe a bit less developed than
hmm
in other bigger countries where, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, it's tempting to dive into one of the topics I've got lined up for later on here, so I'll save that. But just briefly, location from my side of things is always the biggest barrier to finding kind of the perfect, and I'll say that in air quotes for the
Hmm.
benefit of anyone listening. Perfect talent, perfect candidate, because there's no such thing. But no matter where you're based, whether it's central London or Brussels, there's only
Yeah,
a finite amount of people that are either in that area or want to work in that area.
yeah.
So, do you find, when you've been hiring for FutureWave, you've had to look further afield, or you've had to entice people to either move to Brussels or just completely, adopt more flexible practices?
Yeah, I think it's also because we had to open up like an international market as well.
Mm,
So we everything is in English. Like we most of the time we work with, yeah, foreigners and with an international companies. So having a team that is quite international is not obviously
hmm
can make sense. And yeah, this is something that we had up for us. That the most important is to be sure that we have the right person working
hmm
in a field that he likes, that he enjoy. Also,
hmm
I think it's super important for us because, as you mentioned, we blend engineers, creatives, strategists, a lot of different disciplines, and I think it's quite different when you work with people that are so different from you,
hmm
and you need to have an open mind. You need, engineers have to learn to be able to work with designers and vice versa. And this is an exercise that is not that common.
hmm
I mean, that everybody needs to do. I mean, the larger company are doing, but we notice that there's a lot of silos in these companies, and this is what we're trying to break a little bit. So
hmm
because of that, it is something that is quite important. Is this kind of culture of the company, a culture
hmm
within FutureWave, where we need to stay quite open-minded regarding like each other's skills, competences, sector innovations. Like
hmm
these are very important because they nourish a lot the work you're going to do, and it's going to to help also to work better together. So we are much stronger all together, obviously, than alone. Especially in an ecosystem with hardware, I think it's when you design a product, as we already discussed together, we it's a whole ecosystem you need to be aware of. And for one person, it can be a lot to understand and to have a fully holistic approach. I think the designer mentality has a bit this kind of approach by itself, of course, but he's not an expert in many. We often say that the designer is never an expert of anything, but but he's
Yeah.
but it's sort of interesting because it's allowing him to be a bit of a glue, or to create a bit this kind of these links. But at the same time, yeah, that's why it's super important to also have a lot of different variety of experts that are going to complement the project itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it makes a lot of sense to have a large variety of skills and competences, but also a large variety of culture.
Yeah. And I know we've spoken about obviously relying on or utilizing a freelance network, to support projects.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing then from what you're saying, the vast majority of your team are based, in the studio in Brussels,
most
so
of
you can
them.
build that culture. Yeah.
Yeah, most of them. But we came to realize that more and more we need a network of freelancers that will embrace the same mentality. I think this is the culture can still be shared externally. This is not really a problem. But I guess that for a long time we wanted to build that culture before, and so we it was sort of important to be a bit more immersive and
Yeah.
and to have more and to have people like that are within the team, close to the team.
Yeah, it's much easier, in my opinion, to if you've got that core team that they're working together like 40 plus hours a week to build that culture, and then they become if they believe in that culture as well, they're champions of it. So when you're engaging with external partners or freelancers,
Yeah,
it's easier to disseminate that.
totally,
Bro,
totally.
yeah.
I
So
think that's a good point. Is like with as I mentioned, experts are essential also to nourish the work you're going to do, and you're going to find more easily your experts with a pool of freelancers that are very good in what they do. And then the only thing that matters in that selection is just to be sure that if there's a fit, if the values and the way of working and the culture is is attuned, because they will have to work together with our team or with potentially other experts. So yeah.
yeah, you could do, yeah, you get that wrong, and it could be, the opportunity cost is, they disrupt things that you don't see straight away. It just causes cracks that
Hmm.
appear later down the line, in terms of frustrations if it's not right from day one. So
Yeah. Right.
yeah, interesting. So apologies, we skipped ahead slightly to one of the topics there. We're only one question in, and I've already gone off my script here. But
Sorry.
well, look, we've already touched on some of the culture, some of the things that you build in, that and kind of getting a sense of your values and whatnot with FutureWave. But for those who are listening or watching that don't know who FutureWave is, perhaps you could talk us through, give us the elevator pitch of FutureWave, and then maybe take us back to the start. How did it come about? Because you've 5 and a bit years now,
Yeah.
so started in lockdown. But
Exactly.
rather than me put words in your mouth, perhaps you could tell us about
Yeah.
FutureWave.
Sure. Yes. So I came back from Copenhagen. So I was working in Copenhagen. I came back so a bit more than 6 years ago, and to launch with my partner, two other partners actually. So we had three, and they were in the tech field. They were tech engineers working at ESA, but also at Nokia. So they were working on very deep tech stuff. And I was working on mobility project, furniture, lighting, a lot of different things. So it was very different, but we saw a match, mainly because, like I mentioned before, like the silos within companies, something we noticed, and I realized when I was working, for example, with a bike brand, I was designing certain things. I was in conversation with the engineers, and I think it was too ephemeral. Like the communication also was too brittle. So lack of communication, lack of of synergies, and I think a lot of rework on both sides. And I think this is are things that cost a lot of money for companies. That we saw an opportunity there to maybe bring another way of doing and creating objects, and more tech objects, obviously, because there was this link with the tech guys. So yeah, we started a bit more than 5 years ago in Brussels as Zaventem Atelier. And without any fundings, we quickly catch up, and had some first clients. We worked with Cowboy, electric bikes, and some startups at the beginning. That was, I guess, the start. And then bit by bit, we sign with bigger clients, with larger companies, like Sony, Renault, and others. And I think these are very different ways of working, obviously. But we came to realize that for larger companies, we work much more on innovation, on really building the vision in 5-10 years, really speculative design, and what is the experience of tech products in 5 to 10 years, until prototyping, early stage R&D potentially, but normally not. That's something they do internally. And then for startups, this is something we from concept to a fully built product that can be delivered on the market, depending of like how the team is built in the startup and where they need our help or not. But
Yeah.
it's from A to Z, sort of one-stop service.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a bit. And so, yeah, bit by bit, I think we collect a different portfolio of clients,
Yeah, got a
and
great
this,
portfolio. I'm just reading here, Adidas, Nokia,
yeah.
Decathlon, Samsung, Cowboy. Yeah, I'm guessing they were started when you started working with them, but they're more widely known now.
Mhm.
How do you balance things now? Because you mentioned you still work with startups. A lot of design agencies that I speak to, the founders, the owners of those companies are, they enjoy working with startups, but it can be, obviously much smaller projects in terms of scale, in terms of commitment and
Yeah.
cash. So you get the buzz of helping the reward of helping a entrepreneur kind of realize their vision, but it doesn't. It's very difficult to scale that. So, two questions really. Then, so when and how did you pick up your first kind of large account? And how did that feel? And then, how do you strike that balance now between kind of supporting the startups, but also not, taking your eye off the big corporate accounts? If you're serious about growing in design or engineering, you should join the Why Design community on Discord. It's where product leaders share real lessons, job opportunities, and behind-the-scenes insights you won't find anywhere else. And if you want more stories and strategies from the world of product development, subscribe to the Why Design newsletter. Both links are in the show notes, so go check them out.
Hard question, because like I think that I had already some contacts with Adidas even before starting at and some other larger companies. But I guess after 1 year we had a first larger contracts. I think but I think significantly with larger project because you can have big companies working with you, but like when it's become a bit more significant in terms of budget and in terms of redundancy of work, we're like and I think, yeah, I would say that the shift came more last year, where we decided to move more towards larger companies. Startups, I think on some point, on some level, we really enjoy to work with startup because it's new ideas, it's fresh field, it's something you can build from scratch. Um, Obviously, the problem is that you have a lot of budget limitation, and especially in Belgium. And this is one of the things that we also decided to do since last year, is to shift from small startups, companies based in Belgium, to larger startups based internationally. I think in Belgium, but it learned us something quite. It's like um, in this complex startup environment in Belgium, where budgets are totally, I would say, absurd. There's nothing really that is built for hardware startups in Belgium. Really, the fundraise is just ridiculous. If you want to do a bike, if you, I don't know, it's super hard to even raise more than 100 or 200K. It makes no sense. I mean, how are you going to build your company based? I mean, so I think that that on that aspect, it learned us to be quite agile in the way we work, to work step by step, to iterate very fast, to be quite flexible also, and to be competitive. That is something so that's why now when we approach larger startups that are based internationally, they find it interesting, the approach that we have, because it's less risky. It's also iterating fast through fast prototyping. It's a bit of a tech mentality, like
Yeah.
you test, you do errors, you retest, and then bit by bit
You can see what they're going to get a bit
refine.
sooner, can't
Yeah,
they?
you
They've got that
ex-
constant feedback loop.
exactly, and especially the large, the big risk. You want to de-risk these important critical parts, like early on stage. And so I think it was quite a good thing to start that way, because it helped us to really try to be the most efficient possible, and to bring the value, to bring a real value for these companies. So yeah, I would say that's the way. Yeah, probably
Okay.
we started.
And do you that agile kind of rapid iteration, the feedback loop that you offer to startup clients, does that translate well into the bigger corporates, the enterprise clients as
Yeah,
well? Do they
totally.
buy
Yeah,
into that?
very differently. I think they like the this kind of methodology that we have put within Future. I think this is one of the things they even ask, because for it allows us to innovate. I think startups have a lot of potential to innovate, to bring innovation.
Yeah.
They sometimes lack of structure, they lack maybe of that maybe too naive on certain times, or the lack of budget. In any case, the environments in which they are is quite fragile, and is not great to build something robust. You know, totally different in a case of a larger company, where it's very well oiled, it's a good machine, it's there's an idea, it's getting out,
Yeah.
and it's streamlined very, 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 very well and efficiently. But the issue is, like, is the ID great? Is it the best ID? Is it should it be not like is it A or B, or is there even a C or a hybrid, or I don't know. And that kind of thing is what larger companies can be scared of. Did we miss an opportunity? Um, Typically the syndrome of Nokia, BlackBerry with Apple. Oh, how can we not have seen such a, but
Yeah.
that maybe the experience of touchscreen could have actually changed a lot of,
Yeah.
because basically they all wear phones with internet. It's not like they They did not add integrated the same integrated technology, but they did use another technology of touchscreen that was used and experienced in a very different way, which is a touchscreen, which changed a lot of the overall experience. And so
Yeah.
obviously, no button, nothing of that, and that is something that they did not see. So not saying that this is like kind of a trauma for all tech companies, not at all, but it is something obviously that they can be scared just in general, knowing that there might be a missed opportunity to compare with the competitors, or just in general, if it's the right need, or if do people really desire such things, or wants
Yeah.
these
I mean,
things.
you've got to be a lot more confident before you commit
Yeah,
to prototyping and tooling, releasing files, because,
that's why
with software.
they exactly, that's why I think
Yeah.
they spend so much money in strategy, in
Hmm.
the big, he would say the big four in Belgium, with and but it's you want to sort of de-risk your assumptions
Hmm.
through a lot of strategy. But the issue with that is that um, strategy alone is just numbers and feedbacks of people that actually have potentially no clue of what really matters or what is needed. Well, of
Hmm.
course, it will be helpful and it's necessary to do it, but is it enough to fully see? I mean, if how would people guess that actually they want a touch screen, for example, back then with Apple? If I take that example, they have no clue, they don't know, but maybe if you have the product in your hands, maybe it's totally different. Maybe if you
Hmm.
present it differently, if you show the experience differently, it changed the whole topic. So it's a lot about how you suggest these dreams. You have to suggest
Hmm.
dreams for people to, I want to embrace that dream.
Yeah.
And that's not what strategic companies
It's,
are really doing. Um,
yeah, it's a very difficult one because companies like Apple, obviously they innovate extremely well. They'll have a fantastic research team, but a lot of it's intuition,
yeah,
and a lot of it, they're creating categories,
yeah.
a lot of the time, where you'll see some of the. I remember hearing about the iPad before that was launched, and it was, no one wants that. No one wants that kind of device. iPad, the name, it sounds ridiculous, and yet everyone's got one or a version of it. It launched a whole kind of category of
Yeah,
products. The same with the fitness watch and
yeah,
the Apple Watch. I think more recent examples with other companies like Shark Ninja, the Ninja cooking brand. They launched an ice cream maker into the market where
mm,
there wasn't a market there. It was like $1 million or something worldwide, and then that year they created $100+ million market because people went out and bought this ice cream maker in droves. But there wasn't
yeah.
any evidence to say it would be a success. It's just when you build something, and I guess both those companies have reputations for
I think
innovating and
I think
fans, don't they?
that's why when you are bridging creative strategists and engineers together, this is exactly what we're trying to do at FutureWave. It's like really um, building a lot of different expertise that knows the technology, having a lot of strategy that can understand these dynamics, these
Mm-hmm.
business dynamics, um, and creatives that are more receptive to a form of empathic intelligence and intuition. Um, these are very important because, like, when you create a product, there's a bit of a trinome that is super interesting. A product's like how you feel it,
Mm-hmm.
how you think about it, and how you behave with it. It's interesting because, like, the way you feel is something very intuitive. The way you
Mm-hmm.
think can be measured, and this is more like, more cerebral
Mm-hmm.
logic, and the way you behave normally is a way of how you control these kind of uh, behaviors, and the way
Mm-hmm.
of doing. And then normally this is a lot related to the functionalities itself,
Mm-hmm.
which is more technical.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's interesting to see that when you want to generate or propose certain things, like a lot is to do with intuition. To be sure, like I felt that this was a dream that was not just my dream, but it was a more common dream, a dream at least where people can adhere. Do you say that in English? Adhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. To because that is what people love to think about. It's like, oh yeah, they want to dream. If you just propose another functional product, it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's most of the time it's great. But with what you can do with it, it can vehiculate a dream potentially. And it can be simple object. Doesn't need to be big, crazy things. A simple tool can allow you to do dreams. It's like it's not. So I think, yeah, if you want to sell, create, generate, build dreams, you need to have a form of intuition. But maybe it's not enough if you only build this based on intuition. There's a lot of risk, and then that's where strategy engineers are there also to complement
Yeah.
that.
And marketing and branding and
Exactly.
storytelling, it's a whole ecosystem, isn't
That's
it?
a whole ecosystem. Yeah.
And if you get one bit of that wrong, it can fall over. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah, because your
really
branding is
interesting.
how you're going to tell that story, the narrative
Yeah,
behind it. The whole
yeah,
experience has a narrative. Yeah, sure. Totally.
yeah. You just get people to fall in love with, it's not just another thing. It's like it's a it's about the benefits and the impact and how it's going to change your life and make you realize your dreams.
Yeah,
Whether that be ice
exactly.
cream or a watch. So really
Interesting story with
interesting.
the ice cream. With the ice cream, I'm really you should. I mean, I was not aware of the company.
Yeah,
Uh, Sounds interesting.
really. Yeah, super interesting. Well, look, let's talk about kind of where you're going then with FutureWave, because we've talked about in the last year or so, you've really focused on winning big corporate accounts, and you've talked to me about expansion as well with the business, looking into London and San Francisco. This is the part of the podcast where I can press mark clip if that's the kind of stuff you don't want releasing. But how's that? How's that kind of expansion going, and what are some of the kind of the challenges or surprises that you're kind of coming across?
Uh, well, it's a bit early stage.
Yeah.
I think we decide to do that move because we have more and more international clients.
Yeah.
We work a lot with France, with Germany, with Switzerland. Start with SF as well, more specifically SF in US. A bit of Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Chinese companies. But yeah, I think it's because we have more and more clients that we decide to expand more in these directions. So it's a bit more travels, but so I would not say for at this stage that is a clear, direct, aggressive,
You haven't got boots on the
expansion.
ground just yet.
Expansion. Yeah,
It's
yeah. I
yeah.
think I think we want to be sure that we do stuff right. That we do. For us, the focus is not how we expand. We want to create great products for. This is our aim is really to focus on how incredible experience can we build around this technology, about today's technology, but also tomorrow's technology, and what is the experience we have to build around that. What should be this product for people and to help future generations. So I think this is really our main goal, what the impact we want to have this kind of more humanistic impact on tech products, and on global scale. So whether we stay more in Belgium and we have a larger network of freelancer, whether we have an office that we open abroad, everything is possible. We are looking into it, but I think it's more depending more of how much it makes sense to help the companies we're going to
Yeah.
to
because
to
that
work
client
with.
face time is important, isn't it? Getting and experiencing the culture of the business and spending quality time. A face-to-face meeting, a sit-down, a tour of the studio or the factory. You're going to get
Yeah,
way more out of that than a video call or a phone call, because they always feel
yeah,
time limited, don't they? Whereas you always
true.
get a bit more on in
I think
person.
I think we have been working with you know people from New York and San Francisco, London and Hong Kong, and honestly, and we had a project in Osaka for the World Fair as well. Has not been an issue at all to work abroad, and with a long distance. It's
Yeah.
we want to be sure that what we do is and when we have really to meet up in real face to face, and to ship, then we meet. I think what we trying to do is really to have weekly meetings, even if it's through Teams, and to be sure, like, okay, this works, this exactly work, and okay, if you want, we can just ship it right away, and we do a fast shipping towards you.
Yeah.
Do you need explanation? Do you need, if they need a personal assistant, then okay, well then we ship someone with them. No,
Yeah.
but it's just literally like, it's just a travel cost for sure, but
Yeah.
but better that a travel costs, when it's really necessary, then engage yourself into an office with a lot of people where there might be a lot of other problems, like whether it's the way you work. It's the whole organization that you need also to
Yeah.
do with the international. So
You've got to have confidence that there's enough work there, that because the cost of employing designers and having infrastructure,
yeah,
and certainly in SF is, I imagine, a lot higher than it is in Belgium.
but I think we want a nice ecosystem in which to
Yeah.
work in. If you start to stress your business with a lot of other, challenges, such as managing people, and like which you have already to do. It's if you really, like, our goal is to focus on the quality of what we deliver for our clients. The rest is just mean, that if
Yeah.
we have to organize travels and stuff like that. But for sure, yeah, we are looking also abroad, because there are certain spots in the area where the demand is increasing, and where we see that there's like really an added value to have also and yeah, another
Yeah,
base
absolutely. I mean, I
there.
see that a lot from kind of longer established businesses that have got headquarters in London, or Berlin or somewhere like that, and then they'll have kind of a little satellite office in New York or
Yeah,
out in SF, and you'll have one or two consultants there, but they can then at a moment's notice go and conduct the client
yeah,
kind of
ex-
reviews. So
exactly.
interesting. Let's talk about generative design, because that's the topic that you wanted to cover.
Yeah,
How much of a role does that kind of play in your process as a business now versus traditional methods?
it's mainly due to the structure of our organization. We are composed of a large variety of people. Most innovation studio have, or a lot of strategists with some creatives, or a lot of creatives, more design studio with some strategists. We try to have a fair blend of a lot of different engineers: mechanical, industrial, electronic, deep electronic, software, hardware, and like this, all these different people and this different expertise all together is great, because they are very differentiating from themselves. They are very different, and so to have but I will explain more in detail what generative design, what I mean about generative design, is how what you're trying to do, when you when you have a brief, when you have like a project, is how are you going to deliver something that is desired, that is viable, that is feasible, right? That is, let's say, the best answer possible for a market and for people. So the client has no idea, you have no idea at that time, but you have the brief, and what is interesting is you're going to have or set a first. um, let's say it's like a creative um, sort of brainstorm that where you put a large variety of people, and they all going to generate a lot of different ideas, how diverse they are, how different these ideas are, and that's great because then you can use the same people and have with this very different large variety of skills and use it as a filter for all these ideas that were generated. And this is a bit like softwares and generative design or others that is, it's like generating, filtering, and then based on that you regenerate and so on and so on. And how more you iterate, how more you're going to build something that is the best optimal solution. And so normally what a lot of people do is they're going to generate a lot of ideas and they're going to select what they like best, and they're going to do hybrids, right? This is a bit like a traditional method. It's a bit different when you're really trying to have a very practical, it's almost mathematic, it's almost like an algorithm. You really have, you know, uh, a lot of data. You basically replace data with people. It's a bit the same thing. You have a lot of data, how more different are your data, and how more you can filter that and put like a very tuned filter, how more accurate your response is going to be at the end. So it's the same. It's exactly the same. So we're trying to replicate that, but in a more human scale with a large variety of competences that are going to generate and filter all these. And then you create a loop and a cycle. And that is going to bit by bit, crack to bit something that is more optimal. Um, Typically, your engineers are more going to validate feasibility, and your strategy is more the viability, and the designer more desirability in general. But people are very nuanced, and so obviously it's going to, um, it's the answer is much more nuanced than just a very mathematical formula. So I think that's the interesting um, thing about this generative methodology is that the end result is something that is already a bit de-risk on the viability, desirability, and feasibility. And this is something that is thanks to or related to this kind of filtering effect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bit the way it works. The more you iterate and the more further you go, because this can be just as a brainstorm. You can just do a brainstorm of 2 hours with this kind of methodology. You just say, okay, let's all generate individually for 10 minutes around that brief, around this ID. Great. How we filter that? Okay, we have a selection. And after that, should we do groups of 2 people, 2 by 2, and again do a round of 10 minutes of generating IDs around 3 selected or more interesting or more promising um, products, the one that were not killed, basically. And it's important to have all these things that were killed because that can also generate other IDs, obviously.
Yeah.
But and based on that, after that, how more you iterate, how further you can go. But this can just be a 2-hour brainstorm session, as much as you can do longer cycles with the same principle. But for example, how far can you de-risk? At some point, you need to prototype. So who is going to prototype something? For example, like if it's related more to electronics, it's more an engineer, a tech engineer that is going to prototype that. If it's more mechanical, a mechanical engineer. And so obviously, how more diverse is your team, how more you can prototype fast these things and validate these assumptions. And these are really important in terms of like what you present to your client, the deliverable, the feasibility of your project. But a strategist is potentially going to say, okay, well, I'm going to do a thorough study and research and check with a larger, do a qualitative or quantitative study based on what has been out. And for example, it's much more interesting to show. a prototype or to show even visual content or renderings to a qualitative study to people that will be part of the qualitative study than just some base question marks. And these are what this is where the designer is involved in participating in the study and helping the strategists to have a more, to suggest more content. These are sort of important because they work much more together to elevate and enhance the response that they might get. And that is sort of important in the way we work, and it's not crazy. It's just it's quite inspired by just the principle of evolution. When you
Yeah.
it's just it's the same methodology and then the same thing that you see in generative software. But I think that it's just seems quite organic and natural to work like that, like a full organism. It's that's a bit the idea, right? It's
Yeah.
working as a full organism where people
So you're
don't fight.
augmenting your
Right.
kind of process as opposed to,
Yeah.
replacing chunks of it. So
Yeah.
interesting. Looking back through your kind of career and more recently, the last 5.5 years of building FutureWave, tell us about some of the challenges, some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome that have been key kind of lessons for you that you're going to take forward.
I wanted to pause a moment to talk about Kodu, the specialist recruitment partner for physical product teams. When founders outgrow their early team and need engineers who can scale hardware, that's where we step in. When design consultancies win more projects than their teams can handle, we help them find senior designers who deliver without losing creative quality. And when established brands push into new hardware categories, we bring in leaders who've built category-defining products before. If you're hiring or planning your next move in product design or engineering, head over to teamkodu.com or connect with me, Chris Whyte, on LinkedIn.
Hopefully might, be of value to listeners to hear. Can put you on the spot there, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Interesting. God, I think there's a lot of mistakes that had to be done because these allow me to really understand how to improve things. I think a lot of mistakes that others has done that were necessary for everybody is evolving on that aspect, and so I would say that one thing that is quite crucial is to really follow directly your instinct. When something feels right, you should push further because it is something like we often say, like it's like having when it's in your gut, normally you're right. when
Yeah.
it is, and when you do stuff with passion and love and then this normally deliver a good quality, and people know you did put the effort and it pays off, or at least it will bounce into something else and then flourish into something else. And that is something that is super hard when you are like we say in French, when you have la tête dans le guidon, when you have the head in the steering wheel somehow. It's
Yeah.
like really you're so busy and focused on what you have in front of you that you it sounds very cliche and better to say that because it's but honestly it's more hard than we think to really keep and stay as instinctive as possible, and then you keep focus on that. You keep
Yeah.
that dream, and because the focus is essential. I think this is maybe a second key for sure. Is you. It's very easy to seize an opportunity. Oh well, let's jump on that, and sounds like like otherwise we might miss an opportunity. Yeah, for sure. But keep focused on the core, of what you want, of what you dream of. And I think this is probably what we struggle the most with FutureWave. and I think it was more related to also the market. Because the ecosystem in Belgium of hardware and tech products wasn't really there. And one of the main thing every business coach, everybody's going to say is try to be the master of your own country or your own, and then maybe expand later. A lot of people would say that.
Yeah.
Try to be local first and do well there. Uh, yeah and no. Well, typically I would say no in no case.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, there are stuff that we should have maybe took more in consideration there before. But I think yeah, focus, and really speak with your heart. These are primer, I think. Um,
Awesome. And we're going to wrap this up very quickly, but looking ahead to the next 12 months, obviously we've already talked about some exciting kind of things that you're exploring internationally with clients and potentially looking at expanding out into the States and wider into Europe. But what have you got coming up that you're quite excited about?
Project.
Projects, yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting stuck in.
Yeah, totally. I think in transportation we definitely have a lot of things coming ahead, for larger groups, and other companies, promising companies that really want to understand like what should be, because there's a lot of things to do in mobility, obviously, and there were a lot of fields. It's been difficult times also business wise in that field. But I think they also know that if they don't innovate, if they don't, it's not going to get better. And yeah, shifting ways we move, creating these new experience on these integrated technology we're going to build in mobility is going to be quite interesting, but also how and challenge how simple we try to still make it, because it's, integrate more technology, well, more and more and more complex, and we have to make it more and more simple. So it's like a bit of two very opposite tendency that we're taking. But yeah, I would say transportation companies based in Europe. There are some interesting deals in the next coming months there that are coming up, building the vision of these companies in 5-10 years. And then we also, I think I'm quite excited personally on certain things that are in consumer tech and miniaturization of electronics in high end, uh, especially related to healthcare. So more well-being is, I don't know if it's really healthcare, but it's like more small. I think that this is like something that is more and more said about like the real luxury is more going to be like the time that people will allow themselves to take for them, to invest in themselves, and to take care of themselves, and whether it's psychologically, whether it's just general healthcare, or other form of well-being, activities. Uh, there's also a lot there that we are currently working on, and that is super exciting. A startup based in not cannot say much about it, but based in UK actually. Um, Very exciting, and yeah, and then some robotics, where there's a lot to do, and how do we automate and enhance certain things. But I don't think it's like people are very scared on that aspect. It's how do we elevate human beings, elevates their lives, with these kind of automated system, and how can we really redefine also that purpose of these kind of automated system and robotics. And I think that is also very interesting. So quite diverse, yeah,
Yeah.
basically in between miniaturization of electronics, with invisible tech, I think in wellbeing will be quite interesting. In robotic is like, how do we really build this kind of new experiences? And in transportation, it's the same. So these are a bit like the three sectors in which we are in which there are like, yeah. I'm sorry, I cannot really.
Super excited. It's
Unfortunately,
always
like long-term visions. It's long-term visions for these companies, so it's like I cannot
yeah,
disclose. And it's really, there are some patents also regarding these companies and stuff. So,
yeah.
but
Well, I
it's
know from this is always the part of the conversation where, I'm thinking, what can we or can't we say? Because it depends on when the episode goes out. It's like, but it's probably best to just talk about themes and industries rather than chance
yeah.
kind of talking about actual
No, but
projects.
for sure, that's why I think it's more inspiring to talk about like where we think there's a future in hardware products and where we
Yeah.
should focus on, and that's why I'm stressing that point with I think the invisible tech, and how do we create more immersive experiences of technology, but that feels still very human, that interact
Mm-hmm.
very, that communicate with humans in a very natural and seamless way, but at the same time has also real purpose for people. That is super important. How do we create that?
Yeah.
And that is make a lot of sense for healthcare, for well-being, and that kind of environment. And while transportation is much more like, how efficient can we be? Can we
Mm-hmm.
create? Can we, if we think of the future of trains in 5 to 10 years, how should people really travel in trains?
Mm-hmm.
What should be their habits? Just sitting and being on your phone, or is there something else that you can? Um, there's definitely something else there
Mm-hmm.
that can be created, and same with many other yeah, mobility projects. But and yeah, this is probably where I would where I personally feel very excited. Um, because I
Yeah, it's
think
brilliant.
is where there are the biggest impacts for humankind, for people itself. Like we want to do stuff that has a real purpose. Uh,
That's a theme that comes up, every day when I'm speaking
yeah,
to people like yourself, but also design and engineering talent.
yeah.
You know, it's I want to design stuff with impact, stuff that makes a difference.
But
And
it's super
that's the key
hard
thing.
because, like, obviously when you try to find the solutions, most of the time you create a new experience that is going to be misused experience. It's like, and then
Yeah.
and which is not a bad thing, but obviously there's often you know we see that with phones, with technology, there's really this love-hate relationship, and it's quite
Hmm.
interesting to see what can we do there around, for
Hmm.
example, phones, around, you know um, what is the future of
Yeah.
smartphones typically is very interesting topic. And I think that we created great technology. We have created great products, and I talk about people, not about us here, but
Yeah.
we poorly managed really, like, the full scope of the experiences of these products, and we should definitely not be too naive when we put
Mm.
something on the market. But when we see the damage that you know smartphones can have on people
Mm.
psychology, I think there's a lot to do, obviously, and it's not just about the hardware and technology. Obviously, here I'm talking more deeply about
Mm.
what is the use of these products, and how can maybe the phone create a shift, or to help this
Yeah.
paradigm. And I think, yeah, there's a lot to do there, for sure.
Such a deep topic to dive into at the end of the podcast, but one for another day. But
For next
um,
one.
yeah, absolutely, Joachim, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you
Thank you
for
so much, Chris,
um, yeah,
for the
entertaining my
invitation. And
questions. I've loved kind of hearing your stories and your take on design. So um, I'll include links to your profile, to the website, so people can reach out to you, on the show notes. But yeah, thank you again, and
thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for listening to Why Design. If this episode gave you some new ideas, Share it with someone in your team who'd find it useful. And follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if you're building a product team or looking for your next challenge in design or engineering, that's exactly what we do at Kodu. We help companies hire smarter and faster and help great talent find work that actually fits. I'm Chris Whyte. Connect with me on LinkedIn and let's keep raising the bar for design leadership. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep asking, why design?